so that Easter seals can continue to make a big improvement in the lives of disabled individuals like Jeremy. Put ability in disability. Thank you.
This is KCCI, TV8 in Des Moines.
Welcome to Face the Nation. I'm Leslie Stahl. On Wall Street, reaching new heights used to refer to Dow Jones breakthroughs. Now it means that the government is arresting bigger and bigger fish, some of the top officials in the street's most prestigious firms in the ever-widening insider trading scandal.
I realized that I've committed very serious crimes for which I'm very sorry, and it was a very painful lesson to learn.
Dennis Levine, the first caught, was sentenced this week to 2 years in prison and fined $362,000. His confession and cooperation led to this man.
You would like to buy it the regular way.
Ivan Boesky, multimillionaire insider trader, was nabbed last year and fined $100 million. He, in turn, fingered Martin Siegel, who, according to court papers, picked up briefcases full of cash in public places. Last week, the government arrested the biggest fish yet, top officials at Goldman Sachs and Kidder Peabody. One of them, Richard Wigton, thinking his colleagues were playing a practical joke, resisted arrest. He was frisked, handcuffed, and carted away in tears.
There's nothing illegal about becoming a millionaire in your 30s. In fact, it isn't such a bad idea. But you have to do it legally.
The scandal hasn't hurt the market. Stocks keep hitting new highs. But Congress is beginning to consider new laws.
Mr. Chairman, the real question I think we are facing here today is whether deterrence really exists.
How widespread is the cheating? What can Congress do? We'll ask the prosecutor in the case, Rudolph Giuliani, Congressman John Dingell, and Robert Shapiro, co-chairman of Wall Street's Wertheim, Schroeder and Company.
It's fast-paced. There's a lot of money involved. That's the reason I'm going.
And we'll talk about ethics at business school. Greed and crime on Wall Street, an issue facing the nation.
From CBS News, Washington, Face the Nation, with National Affairs correspondent Leslie Stahl. Face the Nation is sponsored by General Motors, the GM Odyssey, science, not fiction, leading the way to the 21st century.
Is imagination the seed of technology, the inspiration for creating the future? At General Motors, they believe it is. And it's this future they're looking to for today's ideas. In this film, we'll be taking a closer look at the dreamers, thinkers, inventors of GM, working together to develop the revolutionary technology we'll need to take us from today into the 21st century. It's far-reaching, it's fantastic. But is it science, or is it fiction? Cut! All right, you set up the close-up of the door and... Yes?
I'm Russell.
Russell, you're taking me to the ABC room.
Yeah, it's over this way. Oh, listen, what do you think of my tie?
I hate it.
Huh?
Come on, I was only kidding. I'm just going to ask you some questions. So, how long have you been with GM?
With us now, the prosecutor in the insider trading case, Rudolph Giuliani, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. He joins us from Tucson, where he's attending a conference. Mr. Giuliani, so far 12 men have been arrested in the insider trading scandal. I have heard a report that there are so many shoes left to drop that they're going to fill Imelda Marcos' closet. How truly widespread and pervasive is this problem? How many indictments do you expect?
Well, it's extensive, and it's going to go on for some time, and I've heard lots of predictions of the numbers, but I don't think anyone is really capable of telling you that. I think the fairest and most responsible thing to say is that it's an extensive investigation. There have been a number of cases already, and there's no reason to believe that it's going to be over with in less than a year.
Are we talking about 60, 70 more people? I've seen numbers like that floating around.
I have too, and I think it's too early for anybody to even be making those predictions.
Right.
It's hard to tell how far this is going to go, but it's certainly going to be a major commitment and going to take a lot of time to fully investigate.
Are you, at this point, I want to get to the atmosphere down on Wall Street, are you looking into every merger, every takeover that's underway right now? Is what?
No. No, a certain, where we have specific information from people that are cooperating with us, or where the SEC has developed some suspicions because of things they've looked at, we're looking at them, but we're certainly not looking at everything.
All right. You have, in this latest round, arrested and charged two of the most prestigious men on Wall Street and really have shaken that community. But I've heard people say that you relied for your evidence almost exclusively on the word of Martin Siegel, who is at this point an admitted felon. And they wonder how good your evidence is if you just relied on a man who you'd caught already and he's trying to get a reduced fine and reduced sentence by giving you evidence. How confident are you of your case?
Well, these are cases that rely not just on witnesses but also on documents, because you leave, when you commit crimes like this, an evidentiary trail. You can't do it without engaging in transactions that we can later piece together. That's why they take a long time, and I can't, the rules don't permit me to tell you how strong the case is, but we wouldn't go with the case unless we obviously had confidence in it.
Okay, you're not just relying on Martin Siegel is what you're saying.
I'm saying that I don't know of a case where you rely on just one witness and really expect that you're going to be able to win it. So
okay.
I think you can be confident that there's more than just one witness.
Let me ask you about the way these men were arrested, particularly Mr. Wigton. Why was it necessary to barge into his office, not inform him ahead of time? Why was it necessary to frisk him and handcuff him and cart him away? Is that a tactic to warn Wall Street? What was the point?
No, that actually is the way people are commonly arrested when they are accused of committing federal crimes. Dennis Levine was arrested precisely the same way. I can think of other people in insider trading cases who were arrested that way.
Really? It sounds like a drug raid and not...
No, it really wasn't. Nobody barged into the office. They worked out with security the way it was done. It was done in an efficient way. It didn't cause any disruption. The rule that is followed among all federal agencies is that when you get arrested for a felony, you're handcuffed. We handcuff and frisk to make sure you don't have a weapon or a knife to harm yourself or to harm someone else. We arrest, the postal authorities made that arrest. They arrest people who steal $25 from the mail. They put handcuffs on those people. And just because Mr. Wigton is very wealthy and very powerful, he shouldn't be treated any differently.
All right, let me ask you about the sentencing. The one major figure who's been sentenced so far, Dennis Levine, got 2 years and was fined $362,000. Is the sentencing too lenient for your taste, or just right, or what?
Well, I think Mr. Levine's sentence was quite appropriate in light of his cooperation. The judge indicated that had he not cooperated, he would have given him between 5 and possibly 10 years. But Mr. Levine did plead guilty. He cooperated. He gave us extensive information that has already led to the convictions of people, not just arrests of people. So you had to give him credit for that. I think by and large, when you look at the people that didn't cooperate and have been sentenced for insider trading, the sentences have been inadequate. But they have been going up, and we've been getting now 3- and 4-year sentences, where a couple of years ago, the most we would ever get is a couple of months in prison. Now, and I think that's the level we have to reach, the 4-, 5-, 6-year level, 8-, 9-year level, to really have a deterrent impact.
Would you like to see this new group cooperate, or are you determined to bring them to trial? And well, it seems you're in a new phase here where the question of cooperating really hasn't been presented to these men.
Well, I think that the government always encourages people to come forward and cooperate. It's a question of when you do that. The longer you wait, the less benefits usually a judge will give you for having cooperated. The sooner you cooperate and the more you help in opening up what is in fact a system that is harming us greatly, that's all to your credit.
Okay, you know, go ahead.
It's not within my power to determine whether somebody is going to cooperate or not. That's something they have to decide, and their lawyers have to decide, and then we have to work out what the government is going to require of you, including making investors whole if in fact you do cooperate.
Do you have a sense that what's happened so far, the arrests and the sentencing, has already acted as a deterrent? Or tomorrow morning when that stock market opens, are there still going to be people engaging in insider trading, in your view?
I think there has to be more of this in order to really have an effect. I think we're looking at an extensive problem that's gone on for a long time. A couple of arrests and a couple of convictions and a couple of sentences isn't going to change the ethic that led to all this. I think we're beginning to get their attention, and I think over the next 6 months to a year we can do that. It's a realistic goal. But I don't fool myself into thinking that a couple of convictions and a couple of arrests has changed what is and has been a very extensive practice.
You say it's been going on for a long time. What took you and the government so long to put your minds to this and begin enforcing a law that's been there?
Well, in fact, I don't know that the government understood the extensiveness of this problem until we began uncovering it a couple of years ago. Prior to January 1, 1984, there had been 12 criminal insider trading cases brought in the history of the United States. Since January 1 of 1984, there have been about 50, and they've been progressing and increasing every single year. And I think many people were surprised at the extensiveness of this problem. Now they know about it, and now is the time to really put the resources into it and to look at the legislation that's needed and the numbers of people and other things that the SEC and the U.S. Attorney's offices will need to turn this thing around. Because the hopeful part of all this is that this kind of crime is deterrable. These are deliberate, planned crimes, and we can deter them.
Okay. Rudolph Giuliani, thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back with our other guests.
I hope that other young professionals starting out in their career learn and not make the same mistakes that I did when I started my career.
Kevin, what do you think you're doing, young man?
It's a car.
Well, I bet everyone would just love to see it, wouldn't they? Up front. Go on.
It's long and low like this. And the engine is back here. And?
Does it have a name?
Well, I was kind of thinking of...
Wildcat.
Wildcat?
That's what it's called.
And you say a computer helped design it?
Using computers, our design team can get people the kind of GM cars they want much faster.
Well, Kevin, do you have a name for it?
Well, I was kind of thinking of Wildcat.
The GM Odyssey. Science, not fiction.
We've always been concerned about safety here at GM.
What are you doing about designing safer cars now?
Well, there's collision avoidance. It's a radar warning system that might be possible down the road.
Oh, my gosh.
What's he doing now?
I don't know.
GM is also working on something called night vision.
How does it work?
By infrared. He's all right.
The GM Odyssey. Science, not fiction.
What do business school students think of insider trading? We asked Robert Lamb, a professor of business and ethics at New York University.
Up to 50% of the class have said either they know someone who's doing it or that they would do it themselves. And then we go back and we analyze what is insider trading and what exactly are the lines to be drawn. And a lot of students say they're not quite sure of the limits. Everyone else is doing it. If I don't do it and other people are doing it, I will be worse off. If I'm a securities analyst or training to be one, I better take advantage of any inside information I can get, or someone else is going to be taking advantage of it. And so we take a long time to go over specific cases and try to work through why they feel that it isn't all that wrong.
This attitude that you are picking up in your classrooms, is it something new? Or is it the way it's always been? Or is something out there in society that's creating something frighteningly different?
I think part of it is new. Certainly the size, the number of people participating in this, I think, is much larger than it ever was before.
Is it the government deregulation? Is that a major part of it? Is it?
No, I don't think that deregulation is a large part of this. I think that the laxness in the enforcement of the insider trading laws has been part of this.
And is this since President Reagan has come in, or was it before that, too?
I think a lot of people have felt during the Reagan administration that they're playing with the net down, that the rules, while still on the books, and the laws still on the books, are not really being fully enforced. And so many people are getting away with it, and they know people are getting away with it, And so they say, well, it's a gamble, but it's an educated gamble.
And is this different from students you've seen in the past? How long have you been teaching?
I've been teaching since 1968.
Is this...
And I've seen a dramatic change over that period
in what?
The attitude of students about the importance of the rules, the importance of the regulations, and not just ethics, but a sense of selfishness. Just, I'm in it for me. I've got to look out for myself. They say, I have to be honest to myself. I have to, in effect, look out for number one. And I didn't sense this back in 68, 69, 70, 71.
What's producing this number one selfishness out there?
I think that many people got fed up with concern with other people, concern with the poor, concern with the civil rights movement, concern with ban the bomb. These were problems that were either too large for them or didn't come home to them in a personal way. And I think that they sensed that that whole era of the 60s was, in their eyes, a waste of time. And with the baby boom generation searching for jobs, these are people who have scrambled for position in nursery school, in grade school, in high school, in college, in graduate school. These are people who have fought to get to positions against fierce competition. And I think they see fierce competition as justifying virtually most acts that they could think of doing.
Are you agonized by this? What is your feeling? You're in the middle of watching these young people come up. You teach ethics.
A lot of us talked about this and worried about this. We have a case that we do called the Penalba case, where students take the part of members of the board of directors of the Upjohn Company marketing a drug called Penalba that has killed people, over 22 people. And the students decide, almost universally, to keep the drug on the market and fight the FDA. We've been doing this case for a number of years. It's done in a number of other business schools. And the students not only decide to keep it on the market here, but after it's been banned here and illegal here, they decide to keep it on the market abroad and to sell off as much of it as they can elsewhere. So it's not simply Wall Street.
But that's a shocking story.
Mm-hmm. It's shocking to us, too. This is not something that we wanted to find out in that form. It's not something that is that easy to deal with when you have 80, 90% of a class taking this attitude so that you realize you have a long way to go to try to get them to come to grips with ethical problems.
Professor Robert Lamb will be right back.
What? I've been following it since the day. Don't rub it in. You want to go?
I did better. I didn't read it.
The 21st century is just around the corner.
What does that mean?
Well, by looking ahead, we can develop technology for today.
Let's rewind to the top. There.
The 21st century is just around the corner.
What does that mean?
Well, by looking ahead, we can develop technology for today.
So?
So when the future comes, we'll be ready.
I think we've got it. Good night.
Good night.
Future comes, we'll be ready.
Joining us now, Congressman John Dingell of Michigan, chairman of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, and Robert Shapiro of Wertheim Schroeder and Company, an investment banking firm in New York. Congressman Dingell, is there something very new and immoral going on Wall Street, or is it just that the government hasn't been enforcing the law and insider trading problems have been going on for a long time?
Well, there's a series of things. First, the government hasn't been enforcing the law as it should. Second of all, it hasn't been putting the resources into enforcement. Third of all, there's a new attitude appears to be going on up in the street. There's huge amounts of money moving through the street in connection with mergers and acquisition. And of course, last of all, there's been the fact that there are tremendous inducements to these people and a structural change which makes the events possible.
Do we need new laws, or do we just need to enforce the ones that are already there?
Well, obviously we need to enforce with great vigor the ones that are there. SEC has had far too little in resources. They have deliberately resisted additional monies and additional staff up until this year. So new enforcement, probably some more vigorous laws are needed.
Mr. Shapiro of Wall Street, you are down there. You're surrounded by what's happening. I'd like to ask you about the atmosphere. Is everybody in terror, and what do you think is causing all of this?
Well, listening to the two predecessors to the Congress and myself, one can't help but be depressed, focusing on the closet full of shoes, which I guess we all are anticipating. And I think that new laws per se, Leslie, probably as such are not necessary. Laws, there are many regulations that have been on the books for a long time. Basically, people understand them, they respect them, and they abide by them. I think that there's probably no question that we can analyze some of the rules that currently pertain, and we can probably make adjustments to them so that they'll be more effective. I think there's some issues that we also really should be addressing at this point in time, which are not presently covered by legislation, green mail in particular being, I think, one of the particular aspects which we've come to understand and live with over recent years, which has attracted a lot of attention and which I think fundamentally is very unfair.
Let me ask the congressman, and then I want to come back on this law, the question of laws, but what Professor Lamb, who was on before us, was telling me was that the students are unclear about what's illegal in the insider trading law, that they think it's fuzzy, they think there's a gray area, and I'm also told that some of the people who are being indicted will argue that the law is unclear. Do you agree with that? Is the law deliberately gray?
No, the law is not deliberately drawn to be unclear. Criminals and good criminal lawyers will invariably say that the law is vague and ambiguous. Sometimes the juries and sometimes the courts will believe them. More often not. This law is, I think, clear enough to inform anybody about the wrong that is proscribed. I would observe that that kind of conduct tends to indicate to me at least a shortening of the time between the time the individual graduates from business school and goes to jail. There are a number of things, though, that are going on up on the street. First of all, it has to be mentioned that there is a massive shift of the functioning of investment banking houses. Some of them have now found that about a third of their earnings go from arbitrage on takeovers. The Chinese wall between the takeovers, between the arbitrageurs and the other people in the firm, particularly the takeover and merger part of the firm, has been falling down. In one firm, the Chinese wall apparently went right through the middle of the navel of the person who was in charge of both arbitrage and takeovers and mergers.
Can you mandate against something like that, or should we? Or
well, let's put it this way. We can see to it that the pain level rises to a high enough point if he's caught that he's going to be much more careful. We can also see to it that the certainty of getting caught rises to a high level.
Mr. Shapiro, tomorrow you chair a new committee down on Wall Street that will begin to ask among yourselves what needs to be done. Do you think it would help if the firms themselves were held liable in these cases instead of just these individuals? Wouldn't that make a big difference?
That gets to, it's a very thorny issue for reasons that you can, I'm sure, appreciate. The firms fundamentally are liable for the conduct of their people. Senior management and organizations are responsible for the conduct of their people, and that has always been so. When you're talking about liability that extends beyond that, and when you talk about how realistic it can be for individuals to know what other individuals are doing, it gets to be a very, very, very gray area. I would like to comment on one point, if I may, that the Congressman made. I agree completely that 10b-5, which is the rule that relates to insider trading, at the heart of that rule it is very clear. And frankly, I don't know that any student who studies the subject would have any ambiguity about what insider trading is and the fiduciary responsibility that people have who are in possession of that information.
Well, let's get back to the firm being responsible. If the firms were being named in these lawsuits, perhaps these firms would find a way to make sure that their people are not doing this.
Well, most firms, probably all firms, Leslie, but certainly most firms, have very extensive compliance procedures. And
they haven't worked.
In almost all cases, truly they have. And I'm not taking issue with the fact that some things have happened which shouldn't have.
I think there's something got to be observed here. In the case of the last three folks caught up there, at least one, and probably two, well, first of all three were top people on their firms. Second of all, at least two, or perhaps three, had been involved in both arbitrage and in mergers and takeovers. These were the people who were supposed to be controlled. It must be observed that in the beginning, it looked like you had a bunch of outlaws and irresponsible kids who were doing this. It now looks like you have the top people on the firms. Remember, the firms are the first line of defense. In 1934, when Congress passed the original law, we said that the firms and the self-regulatory agencies would be the institutions which assured the integrity of the market, which is so essential to public confidence.
Well, what? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make the point, and I trust you won't take issue with it, that obviously these people have been charged, but they haven't yet been proven guilty.
No, and I'm smart enough lawyer, and I've been a prosecutor to understand the difference. But the fact of the matter is that they have been charged, some have been convicted, others are going to be caught, and our job is to see to it that the market functions smoothly, it has public confidence, and that misbehavior of this kind doesn't jeopardize the confidence of the public in the most important single capital-generating entity that this nation has.
Here's what I'd like to ask Mr. Shapiro. How can all of this be going on? A man is frisked in his office, totally humiliated, carried out in handcuffs. He's one of the top men in his firm. And Mr. Giuliani thinks that insider trading is still going on.
Well, I can't certainly prove the accuracy of Mr. Giuliani's statement, obviously, but I would have to tell you that when Mr. Wigden was handcuffed, there was a pall that settled over the entire industry. Word, as you well know, spreads like wildfire anyway. It didn't take very long for everybody in Wall Street to be aware of it. There was almost a hush that you just could sort of sense. And I can assure Mr. Giuliani that for those who might have been complacent and who might have been semi-asleep, they have certainly sat up and taken notice, and they are very sensitive to what they're doing and what their people are doing and what they should be doing.
Congressman, your committee has already held some hearings on this whole scandal. What kinds of remedies, what kinds of laws, rather, do you think the penalty should be even stiffer? What do you think might come out of your future hearings on this?
Well, I would think that we're going to look very hard at penalties. We're going to look at the need for supervision. It's pretty clear that the supervisory process, both of the self-regulatory agencies, the exchanges, and the firms have broken down. Those will be things we will be looking at, amongst others.
Very quickly, can you really police yourselves? You have this new committee. It really doesn't work, does it?
I think it does work. I think in the vast majority of cases it truly does, and I would take issue with anyone who says it doesn't.
Well, it hasn't.
I can't explain those people who wantonly disregard the law.
Well, but it seems to be more pervasive than you're making out right now.
Well, I don't mean to belittle the problem, Leslie. On the other hand, when you think about the numbers of transactions in which our industry's been engaged over the last several years.
Leslie, you're not talking about millions or thousands of dollars. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're talking about inducements that amount to billions. And you're talking about a structural rechange of the whole market that has taken place just recently, which provides enormous new inducements to misbehavior.
Very, very quickly, the market has not really been affected by this scandal yet, Mr. Shapiro. Do you think it's going to go on like that the public really isn't going to take it out on Wall Street?
The market's certainly been motivated by other factors, economic issues, and lots of things that the market's perceiving that are true today and will be true in the economy in some months to come. I do think, Leslie, that as this grinds on, that there is no question, but what, particularly if we find ourselves in some uncertain economic period, that the market could find that this also becomes very debilitating. I don't think we can presume for a moment that it will not have its impact. But today, to be sure, as you said, happily, in a sense, it hasn't.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shapiro, Congressman Dingell. I'm Leslie Stahl. Have a good week.
This portion of Face the Nation was sponsored by the men and women of the General Motors Corporation. GM, mark of excellence.
Two flashes of greatness, Magic and the Lakers, Barkley and the Sixers. Showtime today on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.
Did you go to camp with Amanda the Panda?
Yes.
Tell me about it. What was fun about it?
The dance and swimming.
Thanks to you and 13 local radio stations for making this year's Amanda the Panda Radiothon a big success.
You know, those kids, they deserve something like this. They're wonderful young people.
Through your donations and the sale of TV8's Walmanac, over $75,000 was raised to help children with serious illnesses.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard Flight 416. We ask that you please make sure your seatbelt is securely fastened. FAA regulations require the use of seatbelts by all passengers.